Okay, so black holes are said to be like one of the most mysterious things that are found in the universe. And what's really interesting is they move really fast. There's more than one of them, but there's really only been a couple times they've been observed by scientists, even though there's been a lot of speculation based on, you know, what they could be. And some of the reasons why they've been as mysterious as they've been told, it's because nobody really knows like 100% like what's on the other side of them. And because there's more than one black hole, if somehow you weren't killed by the gravity that it sucks everything in, how far does it go down and what leads to the other side of it? Not to mention, if there's other black holes out there, do they all lead to the same dimension, or does it just lead to something entirely different? However, like wormholes would exist, for example. Like you go into like a time portal and you just end up somewhere else. I believe that black holes they destroy things. The rip in the like it's the gash in the universe that it leads somewhere else. But at the same time, though, where does it lead and how it transports it, that's different. And then, but what's really interesting though is, here's what some people don't know. There are things in the universe that can move faster than the speed of light. As a matter of fact, there are objects in space that are moving faster than the speed of light, and we don't realize it. Unless, of course, you really look up like acceleration and like look at known objects and how they've been measured. And black holes move very fast, faster, and they can suck light particles in faster than light itself can travel. That is why dark matter, for two reasons that I've known, it's like light doesn't mix with dark matter, but at the same time, though, it sucks light faster than it can travel. So even if we were to see a black hole, like let's just say, you wouldn't be able to visibly see it without like using different visors or something like that. Because the idea is that black holes, like the light itself, is not able to mix with the dark matter, or it can't keep up with the acceleration of the black hole and how fast the gravity's pulling it in. It's actually quite interesting. As a matter of fact, before Stephen Hawking died, he once stated that black holes have more mystery, and there's probably going to be so many things we don't know about them, because how can you really get that close to something without it being disrupted, whether due to the gravitational forces or whether, nobody just goes into a black hole and lives, for that matter. It just doesn't happen. But it's just like one of those bizarre phenomenons that does in fact exist. And basically you could say that it's the reason why black holes exist is because of the intense, it's something to do with the end of a star cycle. I forget exactly at what point, but basically it's like the opposite of like a supernova. It's like basically like the star implodes on itself after it blows up, and then it's just like kind of like a secondary effect. Like I said, I'd have to pull it up again and take a look at it, but basically the idea is that, there's so many things that can happen between a star's life, and if it's not the star dying to the point where you have like this big explosion that destroys it, or everything goes flying out of its orbit because its gravity weakens over time, then it just sucks everything in and transports it somewhere else probably. Now, there have been many theories, but one of my favorites has always been that, the reason why black holes do exist, because as time goes on, they start to slowly fill themselves up. It's like the universe is repairing itself, but like all that extra energy is getting sucked somewhere else and turned into another universe somewhere else. It sounds bizarre, but it just seems like if there's one end of the spectrum, what's on the other side of it? And what I think is what's also really interesting to think about black holes is that there's been people that have speculated, even though they've never really proven they exist, that white holes exist. They just be the opposite of a black hole. And basically it'd be like, it'd be like you could travel through time rather than like backwards. It's actually kind of interesting. Some people have argued that It's just the opposite of gravity. But what's really interesting is if you're seeing black holes, though, sucking gravity in, and then you go on the other side, and it just pulls it the other way too, what happens when you get to the... Like, if somehow you were still alive, what would happen if you were on that one side of the black hole? Not to mention, if black holes are really two ways, like there's one rift over here and there's another over here, what happens at the center point then? Or what happens when one side fills up and the other doesn't? Is it possible to be sucked into another dimension, and then let's say the other side's patched, and then this side eventually patches itself? Like, where are you at now? What dimension are you in now? You know, your energy might be converted and then passed off somewhere else. But it's just one of those strange phenomenons that, you know, it just seems like there's more out there than we could ever imagine. And I believe it. But how does something like this exist, and what purpose does it serve? You know, why would something like this exist? As well as like supernovas and gamma rays, and, you know, the universe is cruel, but at the same time, no mortal could ever understand it for what it really is. That's the bizarre. That's probably what scares. That should be what scares a lot of people with the universe. You know, a lot of people don't really understand its meaning, but it seems like, you know, we don't think about it because we don't see it. Like, but there's things out there that could be far worse than anything nature on this planet could throw at us. Gamma rays, supernovas, black holes, comet collisions, planet, you know, just objects that are superior and much bigger than anything we can ever imagine them to be on this planet. And it just makes you wonder, like, what else is out there? Because it, you know, there's other things that are out there, and they have to be something in their own way. But how many things do we not know? The only conclusion I could also think of is you'd either have to be like some sort of a time-traveling god or a deity to be able to, like, understand how time and space work, and then go back to that point in time and understand, like, all the things you don't see. But what's really interesting is how could anything like that exist in our realm? Like, how could we acquire powers like that if we really wanted to go out and see everything? Then you'd have to be, like, immune to, like, the universe's temperatures, which is, like, far more ridiculous than you could ever imagine it to be. And then what's also really interesting is if the universe really is what they say it is, it's made of all energy, and dark matter and dark energy are the two most common things. You know, what is it really? You know? And supposedly the universe is infinite. You know, what is beyond the universe? If this universe is infinite, is that what black holes are for? To go to other universes, other dimensions, and if there's other dimensions that exist on the same plane scale as, like, the third dimension, where does the fourth dimension begin? And then the fifth, and then the sixth, and the seventh, and the eighth, and how much different are they? It's quite interesting to think about. The bizarre phenomenons that even surround the universe, or even life itself, rather, all the possibilities. You know, what exists now and what doesn't? A lot of people should think about that.